information can share with you guys and help you to make a wise decision whether you want to move to Hawaii in the near future or not. Basically, Hawaii is a very ideal place for every human being to live there, because the first pro of living on that beautiful island is people care about people. They smile to you, they say hello, they wave hands to you, even though you don't necessarily know them 100%. But people will like being around happy people and nice people because they are able to make your life very happy and easy to live your life. Because delight and happiness are all what human beings desire for and hope for. The second pro of living on that island is it's literally 10 minutes away from every beach on that island. And you can see green beach, black beach, white beach, regular beach, you name it. And also you can discover thousands of marine animals like various shells, like sea urchins, like hermit crab, which is a very tiny crab living in a tiny shell. Move the shell going there and here is very interesting. I promise you've never experienced how interesting or mysterious the sea is on the mainland. The third pro of living on that beautiful island is, you may ask me, where can I earn money to live on that beautiful island? I'm gonna tell you it's very easy, because jobs are far less competition. When you are applying for a job, your application may be 1 out of 5, but compared to living on the mainland, everyone experiences that your application is easily buried by tens of files in HR's office. So don't worry about your livelihood. It's what you earn is enough to support your life. I promise. So, okay, from what I'm saying, have I drawn your attention? What is your plan for your future, maybe next 10 years? Thank you.
Good, excellent, excellent. Comments for Helene? Levy.
I didn't find that there was a very solid conclusion based on the framework that we learned.
Yeah, and she said it right off the bat. I'm going to recommend you immigrate to Hawaii, right? So even though there was a lot of information that followed, we were able to understand that it all related to that. Yeah, good one. Any other thoughts? Josh.
She was very clear about moving from premise to premises, first, second, third, maybe third. Yeah, easy to know when she included, talking about the culture, the people, and moved on to the landscape, the ecology versus the job market.
Yeah, excellent, great.
I could really see the excitement in her when she was talking, and I could see that she's really, explaining herself well. But we may have slowed down a little bit just to make my points a little bit more clear. But otherwise, I think you did a great job.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree with that. There was a lot of content in her speech. She had a lot to say. So perhaps you went through it very fast to get through it all in 2 minutes. I think what might have made this presentation stronger is less content, little fewer words. And that way you could keep all the same excitement, keep all the same engagement, and you could have gone a little bit slower to make it more impactful. Any other last comments? Okay, good, fantastic, thank you. And let's see. Yang is next? Wait, no, who's next? Okay, Levy's next.
Yeah. Okay, good afternoon. I'm going to be presenting today my thesis of why vaccinations should be mandatory. So, as we all know, there are many diseases in the world, and vaccinations is one of the most promising ways of eradicating these diseases. and preventing them as well. We have certain diseases like polio, which have been extremely controlled by vaccinations. In the height of the polio outbreak, there were about 16,000 people being affected in the United States. Now, polio has been contained to just a dozen of cases in a couple of countries, as well as we've had some diseases that have been eradicated through vaccination, such as smallpox, which at its height was affecting 32,000 people in the United States, now has been totally eradicated. There's no need even to get vaccinated against such a disease. The second reason for the importance of vaccinations is the amount of lives that it saves. It's been estimated that just in the United States alone, in the last 20 years, about 720,000 lives have been saved due to vaccinations and people not falling prey to diseases that have been that in the past they would have. The third reason for why people should get vaccinated is, although there is a risk factor, this risk factor is extremely low. If we talk in terms of numbers, there's been, as we said, 720,000 lives saved. In terms of illnesses prevented, the estimate is 32 million. If we look at the side effects that have been reported, there's been about 30,000 side effect cases that have been reported, but only about 10% of those are actually quite serious side effects. So if we do the numbers, the risk factor it's about 0.001 of that adverse bad side effect happening to actually quality of life being improved and lives being saved. And the fourth and last factor that I would like to address is the social responsibility. We all have, as members of society, a health commitment to our communities, to be health conscious and not to spread diseases around to our communities if we want to be a part of society. And vaccinations is the way, or one of the only ways to prevent this. So, in conclusion, based on these four facts of possible eradication, the small risk factor, the amount of lives that are saved, and the social responsibility, I would like to conclude that we should all make vaccinations mandatory.
All right, awesome. Comments? Yes, Jerry.
Did you get the conclusion at the beginning and the end, like twice, or only at the end?
I've given them both.
Yeah, I think you did. Give it to us both. Did you not hear it at the beginning? Because that's a good point. Maybe he needed to pause and clearly say, "This is my conclusion." Let it sink in for a minute.
I didn't pick it up.
Okay. Yeah, so that's fair comment. So maybe to guide your audience, pause, clarify. Other comments? Yes.
I just have a question. When the presentation or oral presentation have so many data, is it better to go with graphs and charts? Because I think it's a very sophisticated topic and hard for people without the scientific background to follow. You did a great job, but I wonder if, in this case, do you need to use those aids?
Okay, that's a very good point. So in this case, who thinks graphs may have helped with this presentation? Okay, so graphs may have helped with this presentation. Question for you all. What could he have done given that this was not a graph presentation? Either he's preparing for this exact assignment in class. Maybe he's preparing to pitch this at some sort of medical networking event, some sort of event with people with political sway, and he doesn't have the opportunity to present graphs. How could he have made this clearer, given that there are no graphs?
I would carry a piece of paper, having few graphs, and give it to everyone.
Okay. All right. That's another. Other ideas?
Use human prompts. Like for instance, you want to say 33%, whatever. You can bring up maybe 3 members of the audience, and then take one out and say that's 1/3. It's a way of sort of giving it visual impact.
Good. Sophisticated technique. Yes.
Maybe you could just draw on the board.
Could draw on the board. Yeah. All right.
I was just going to say, like, comparisons that make the numbers more digestible. I think examples of what these represent.
Yes, yes, a combination of instead of dividing the audience, if you don't have that set up, just let me tell you what that means. That means that for this many people who live in your house, this many people would die, or whatever, something like that. Another thing I was thinking as I was watching the presentation, is this concept of a presentation motif. Remember, he had 4 different points. What if he could have made it a little clearer when he was going through each of those 4 different points? So point 1 is this, the low risk factor. Boom, 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 boom. So I'm finishing up point 1, the low risk factor. Did you understand? Does that make sense to you? Let's digest it for a minute. Point 2, Now give us something complicated where you're not as likely to get lost because he's using maybe a physical 1, 2, 3, and he's slowing down at the beginning or end of each of them. And he's using a simple fact to sum up the whole point 1, point 2, point 3. What do you think about that? All right, good. Are there any other comments for that? Let me ask you, what did you think about his position here? So he went up and he stood behind here for a moment, and then he came out a little bit for the presentation. What are our thoughts on that? Yes.
I think actually that feels better in a sense because it feels like he's pretty calm and he's in control and he kind of tried to, first, try to calm himself down and then come out gradually. That gives me a sense that he's pretty confident about what he's going to present.
Okay, so it struck you as the authoritative stance by standing behind the lectern and then coming out gave a little bit of an openness. Any other thoughts?
I think it was important to stand behind the podium first, establish his dominance and authority in a way. And then you sat down from it, sort of being down to earth. But if you start in the middle, being down to earth to begin with, then your authority.
All right, interesting, Priya.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, that's right. I was just saying, you want to position yourself at a higher place and then step down instead of.
Okay. I hear that. Yeah, Priya.
I was going to say, if I compare 2 of them, I feel that he was holding a piece of paper, so it was important for him to put that down so that he could actually come up in front of the audience.
Okay.
Obviously, he didn't want to carry it with him while he was talking.
Oh.
He was using his hand gestures and things like that. So obviously, it's not easy to move around.
Okay, so it was a tool. It was a crutch.
Yeah.
To start with a piece of paper, and then when he felt comfortable, to come out. Okay. All right. My thought on this is that I felt it was a little bit distant. And I hear your comments that this establishes a sense of authority when you're standing up here. But honestly, I don't know if he needed that sense of authority. He's talking about vaccinations. We assume he knows something about vaccinations. And we know this is a brief presentation. We're going to get some good information. I trusted him right off the bat. So I didn't think the need to establish authority was as important. And I just felt it was a little bit distant here. And then as he came out, he did a couple interesting things. One, he kind of used this as what I might call a lifeboat, or sort of a buoy, kind of held onto it. And then when he let go, he was doing a little bit of swaying back and forth. I would have rather him come out to the beginning and just open himself up here and really relate to us with something important and meaningful, divided into 4 succinct, understandable points. So I would have voted for an open stance to the start, but I hear that there's some value in what he did here. Great. So let's move on. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. I want to ask a question. How many of you want to be Warren Buffett? Then you can pick a stock like Coca-Cola and watch it grow 60 times in 25 years. Isn't that amazing? Problem is, what I have to say today is, for an average individual investor, it's better to be a passive investor than an active investor for 3 reasons: the knowledge, the time, and the risk tolerance. So first of all, for an individual average investor, you don't have the knowledge required to pick a winner. Say, for example, if I tell you Apple is at its 52-week low right now, do you think Apple is a good buy? How many people are going to jump on it and buy it? A lot of people are making their investment decisions based on their based on the muscle words. so they didn't do the analysis. In contrary, the people that are doing active management, they were trying to analysis financial statement and making comparables. So if you don't have the necessary accounting and investment analysis skills, and you don't leverage the micro industrial trends, it's like like a soldier going to battle without a weapon. You don't have the necessary weapon to pick a winner. So for the second point is, a lot of people don't have the time to be an active investor. Most people that pursue an active investment, they have to watch the market from 9:30 to 4 o'clock, and then after market close, they have to spend time to study and analyze the stock. So for people like you and me, we have full-time job, we have full-time school, and then we also have our family or social life. I don't think people can contribute that big chunk of time to pick a winner. And the third reason is we don't have the risk tolerance to be an active manager. How many people know what happened last Friday to Lincoln? That stock actually
Went down 4%, so.
Yeah, it actually went down 44%. So if an average people, say you have $10,000 invested in that stock, you will lose $4,400. I don't know if anyone can take a loss. I sure not, because that's part of my Roberts bill. I cannot pay $4,400 out of my pocket. So that's why if you are a hedge fund, you have billions of dollars, you may have millions of them in liquid, and then when you diversify, that loss may be minimized to a couple percentage. But if you're an individual investor, you put that much money in, that's a huge loss to you. That's why, in conclusion, given our knowledge, our time, and our risk tolerance, it's better to be a passive investor. And to emphasize, or actually assure you, to be a passive investor is no worse than to be an active. Because the number shows in the past 15 years, actually 81% of the US equity fund manager, they're underperforming the Stanford 500. So why don't we just pick a stock index and then invest in that?
Great job. Comments for Yan? Yes, Ellen.
She is very clear, and she is able to make a very sophisticated finance investment, into a very simple things, and everybody can understand.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah, great.
And she is a good salesman or salesman.
Good salesperson. Saleswoman. Yeah, very clear, understandable. We all knew what her conclusion was. She used clear examples. 84% fund managers underperform. It's like taking, what was one of the great lines? It's like going into battle without the weapon. Yeah, that definitely resonated. Good. Other comments? How did we like her eye contact? I'm throwing you a curveball because I haven't really. We're going to discuss this later in class, but just what are your
I
impressions?
think she was focused on us. I felt she was focused on us.
Okay.
I sat here though.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry, say again?
I thought she was focused on us, but I sat here though, because she was in front of me.
Oh, okay, so she was just focusing on the front row is what you're saying?
No, like I felt she had eye contact with everybody, but I sat here, so maybe like the people back.
Okay, so there was good eye contact, but it may not have been spread around the room as much as you thought. Okay, good. Any other comments? Eye contact or otherwise? Yeah. I want to come back to the eye contact thing after we do some exercises. I felt like she was engaging us, but not as much as I would like with eye contact. Not as consistently and not as spread. Especially because her content related so directly to us. I feel like eye contact could have helped you a lot, making that more helpful. All right, let's do a couple more volunteers. All right, segment. Who wants to go after segment? All right, Jerry. Excellent.
Alright, thank you everyone for coming and listening to me today. I want to convince you, which I am very well convinced, why we should have business communications as one of the core classes for our Master of Business Administration out here. I keep on hearing that we, Rutgers Business School students, we are not good in presenting. However, we are very well skilled maybe more skilled than some of the top tier schools such as NYU or Columbia around. So presentation is a big problem that is hindering us from our real potential. We have great alumni network. We are among the top 10 schools for producing CEOs in Fortune 500 corporations. We have a brand name that's globally well known. I know that when I was in my home country, how much Rutgers is well renowned. We are in the best location, New York City. I mean, this is the financial capital of the world, and we don't want to lose on leadership opportunities. We just don't want to go and do the work with the business skills. We want to be able to present in front of the boardroom. We want to be able to satisfy our customers. We want to be visible, and that's what is going to make us grow. So this is why I recommend that we all should tell others that business communications is one of the key classes for MBA, and the dean should make this a mandatory course. Thank you.
Fantastic. Comments for Sagna? First of all, great choice of topic. Josh?
I mean, I guess the energy level was really good. Almost regardless of what came, after his opening, you were already ready to believe him based on just how enthusiastic he was about the subject.
Yeah, good point. Pick something that you believe in. If you don't believe your own pitch, your audience is not going to believe your own pitch. And he did, so that was a great point. Other comments? Yes.
I think he did a good job with the eye contact. He basically tried to look at everyone in a row, and I can see that he's trying to look from here and here and to the center and look to the back.
Yeah, good eye contact, good engagement, and he was combined that with the fact that he really believed in what he was saying. Yes, and that's
He did a good job of highlighting the positives of Rutgers and where we're lacking and how his company is like a fit to fixing the problem. So
yes. So it was positive. Right? His reason for business communication was not that everyone sucks at communicating. It was that everyone is so good at everything else. So we just need communication so they know how good we are. Yeah, good positive presentation for you.
I was going to say that his voice, tone of his voice was like really consistent throughout, and the volume, the way he came out, sounded like really confident and really engaging as well. I mean, sometimes people's pitch can sort of make you go to sleep. But the way he came out from beginning all the way up to the end, he had a very consistent volume.
Yeah, that is a great point. I don't teach vocal projection or vocal technique in this class. I do sometimes, but we won't here. Generally, I just look at it as a byproduct of how enthusiastic and engaged the speaker is. And to Priya's point, it was good, and I think that was because he was enthusiastic and engaged. So yeah, you don't need to go to a voice class, you just need to be enthusiastic and engaged. Okay. Good. Any other comments? Excellent, fantastic. All right, who's next? Jared, yes, Jared. Who wants to go after Jared? Excellent.
So today can I start?
Yes, go for it, Jared.
Today I'm going to explain why I'm qualified for the job at Intel called Supply Chain Engineering Leadership. And the job description talked about demonstrating analytical skills, working cross-team, and leadership. And the three reasons why I feel I'm qualified are because I have excellent analytical skills, excellent leadership skills, and excellent teamwork skills. I can show that excellent analytical skills because as an engineer, I frequently had to solve very complex problems through analyzing data. And during my time at AT&T, I worked on a network performance webpage. And there's one time where there's a color coding problem, and I was able to analyze the code and figure out that there's something missing. So once I fixed it, the code worked fine. I also had leadership skills because during my family vacations, I'm always the one to plan vacations, which goes from booking hotels, airfare, finding cheapest airfare, figuring out where to go and attractions, and then also if we go on the train, figure out the train, like how to buy train tickets. So I would take the information and where we want to go and plan the itinerary, and we follow it. Every time everyone will have fun, and that's the important part. In addition, I can also give examples of how I have teamwork skills. frequently in my team, we had to write, when we were coding at AT&T, we had to write use the same file. So I had to coordinate with my team members to make sure we don't actually accidentally overwrite each other and it cause others' works to be lost. And also, like, frequently we had to help each other out because if my teammate had a problem, like, but they don't know what to do, I had to help them fix their errors so that we could get their problem fixed. And in conclusion, I feel that I'm qualified for the position.
Fantastic, Jerry. Comments?
I have a question.
Yeah.
How do you purchase trinket online?
For example, like Germany, there's like the official website.
What about Andrew Johnson? I'm sorry, I'll ask you later.
All
It's more
right.
practical.
Well, so very interested in your content, so that's a good point. Other comments? Vanessa?
I'm not sure about everybody else on this side of the room, but I felt like you didn't look at us at all. Like it was very. I felt like I was kind of like doing this to try to get your attention. So,
Maybe it's like my position.
yeah, maybe, but either way, I didn't feel like I was engaging.
You're mostly looking at this.
Yeah, this side of the room.
Yeah. Did anyone notice who he was looking at the whole time? Yes. How did that make you all feel?
Not once.
Less important?
No, I think why he was looking at you is because I think he was nervous and he knows that you are the grader.
Oh, okay.
Not because he made us feel less important. I think that's what's going on inside.
Good
It was kind of spread out
point.
too. So either.
Good point. So it would make the rest of the class feel more engaged if you would look at them as well.
Yeah.
And I think also it takes if you look at just one person, one decision maker, one grader, or a couple, I don't know, I don't think it's as powerful. I think it can be powerful engaging the rest of the room because the person who's grading you or the person who's making the decisions can say, yes, this person is really convincing the people that his company is great. He's a great candidate, so I want to give him the job. I want to invest. So I think it's almost more powerful when you look at the rest of the room instead of just the one or two decision makers. Other comments? Helen?
I think his examples are very good and make everyone know what he trying to convince us.
You think the examples were very good?
Example,
Okay.
yeah, is very clear, very good.
Okay.
Goes from booking hotel and blah blah blah.
Yeah. Good. I thought the examples were good. I would have liked to have heard some pauses to let those examples sink in. So, plan family vacations. Let's just absorb that for a minute. Okay, we're about to hear a good story about a complicated family vacation. Then give us the example. So, I thought they were great examples. I would have liked a little bit of a slower pace and some pauses so we could better absorb those examples. Anything? Yes.
I think I'd like to hear more positive phrases or words instead of saying have to. Say I took the initiative to do so and so. So that way it doesn't seem like you're being ordered to do something, but rather you took the initiative.
Yeah, that's a good point. We want to hire someone who takes the initiative to show these leadership skills. Great point. All right, excellent. Thank you, Jerry. Who wants to go after Jan? Right.
Alright, so before I start my presentation, I'd like to know a show of hands. How many of you are actually currently trying to switch your career? Let's say it's changing from one industry to the other. Okay. And how many of you want to switch to a bigger company, a better company? Okay, about more than 70%. How many of you are actually enrolled in full-time MBA program? Oh, is it just me? Okay. Okay. All right. So today my thesis will be if you want to change your career from one industry to the other, or if you want to change to a better company, I think your best option is to be enrolled in the full-time MBA program from Rutgers University. And the reason why is first, usually only full-time MBAs are eligible for on-campus interview to compete for internships and co-op positions.
In contrast, if you are in the Flex MBA program, even though if you study full-time and you did all the courses, you entered simplicity, you pass all the requirements the career manager wants you to pass, you're not eligible to compete for internships. You're only eligible to compete for full-time positions right after you finish about 30 credits before you graduate. And the second reason is most major corporates, such as Johnson & Johnson, Eli Lilly, BMS, Novartis, Citibank, PJ Morgan's, you name it. All major corporates only hires full-time positions through their internship. That means if you want to enter the industry or if you want to enter their company, you will have to be their interns first. That's how they get to know you. And I didn't prepare very much, but I think I already made my point very clear. And so if you guys have any further questions, I will also be happy to answer it. And if you happen to be in the Flex program, I can also give you some tips on how to get into co-ops and internship through Flex program. Thank you.
Great job, yeah. Questions? Questions, comments, Frank?
Her content is very well organized, and she asked very relevant questions at her beginning.
Yeah, great job. So you asked us relevant questions to know who our audience is, know how this is related to our audience. Content was very well organized with, I think, two key points, right? Did you just said two?
Yeah,
Okay.
just two.
Good, yes. Yeah.
I like Yana's casual tones when you're talking about she's like talking to you rather than she's presenting to you. Like, it's like a two-end communication, so you don't feel like you're just being lectured on.
Yes, casual tone. She was talking to us. She kept her content succinct, so there was not a whole lot she needed to get out. And I really think that made her conclusion very powerful. Like the previous speakers, we had great conclusions, but I feel like there was more information packed into the previous presentations. This was like succinct and powerful, and the way she organized it with two key points. She used the presentation motif, point 1, point 2. She actually did point 1, and then you did point 2. You could have done point 1 and point 2. All right, I would have added just a little bit more to it. Other comments?
I do have some information to share.
Okay, yeah.
If you happen to be in a Flex MBA program, if you really want to get into the internship or co-ops, try to go to the career fairs. This is how I got my first internship with EMS last year. Just some tips.
All right, fantastic. All right, go for it, Frank. Who wants to go after Frank?
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Frank. Today I would like to talk about the minimum wage. The minimum wage is the minimum salary that the firms has to pay its workers as enforced by the government. And the current minimum wage in New Jersey is about $8.40 per hour. Actually, the purpose of these policies is to help to increase the salaries of those low-income earners in the society. However, this policy to create the unemployment. That is because if the minimum wage is set above the market equilibrium price, then there are more people looking for the jobs than the jobs being available in the market at that wage. Okay, and second, and then there is a surplus of labor supply in the markets, and this will lead to unemployment. And the second reason is that the total social welfare will decrease because of the loss of economic productions due to the many workers are going to lose the job. Okay, and then my last reason is that the minimum wage to include an individual's rights to choose work, because I believe that if an individual is mature and he is free to make decisions, nobody should interfere with her. So how can you define a decent pay for work? And how can the others value your pay better than yourself? If they can't, so how can the government prevent you to work if you are willing to do so? So altogether, minimum wage creates unemployment and also decrease the social welfare, and lastly, intrudes the individual's rights to choose work. So my conclusion is it should be banned in all states. Thank you.
Good, fantastic. Comments for Frank? Yes.
He said too many times.
What's that?
He said a little too much.
Okay. Some filler words. Yeah. Anyone else notice that? I did not write it down. All right, but
There's this one section.
okay. So filler words can be avoided with consciousness, awareness about filler words, and practice. There's some other things we can do with filler words.
And also another thing that when he was talking in the beginning, I wasn't sure what his conclusion was.
Yeah, all right, that's an interesting point. So the conclusion was we should not have a minimum wage, right? Did people get that right off the bat? All right, did anyone get it right off the bat? All right, when were you clear about it, that when minimum wage should be paid? First of all, who is not clear until I just said that just now? Everyone got it at some point? Okay, when did you realize it? Yeah, his conclusion. At what point did you realize it, Levy?
Probably, I'm going to say the last statement, but about 2/3 in, I realized that's where it was trying to lead in.
2/3 in, where else? Middle? Where else? I got it at the very end. And there's a couple of reasons I got that. One, because I was taking notes on body language and eye contact, so I wasn't focusing very deliberately on his words. A couple other things that happened is Frank started speaking as he was walking in, right? So as he was walking in and then jumped right into the presentation. So basically you get the first important sentence out here and you finish the first important sentence before you even get stable, and then you dive right into the point 1, point 2, point 3.
Yeah.
So it took us a while to absorb that. And if we missed that statement, which a lot of us did, it took us a while to catch up to what was being said. And it's an interesting conclusion. I feel like we're more used to hearing minimum wage should increase in this environment, in this political environment these days. So for him to say minimum wage should be banned was something that we just need to take a minute and say, oh, okay, all right, it's the other way than I was hearing about in polls and the newspapers and the politicians. So let me take a minute to get my head around that. The other thing that I think added to the rush is I'm trying to think about how this fit into your presentation. Frank is wearing a coat. Notice, he's just got this like rushing in, rushing out look to him. And I think the coat creates a distance between the presenter and the audience. So I recommend take off the coat, slow down, show us that you're here to invest in the conversation with us, and give us a minute to absorb that.
Okay, I'll do it next time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Coat off next time. Any other comments? Okay. Okay, excellent. Vanessa. Who wants to go after Vanessa? Oh, great. Fantastic.
All right. So it's 9:15 at night. You're getting out of your business communication class. You're trying to get home and all of your friends have already left. What are your options? Are you gonna A, walk through campus by yourself? B, walk to parking deck 2, all the way through Washington Street by yourself? Or C, are you gonna stand in the back of the business school by yourself to wait on the next incoming train? I'm here to argue that Rutgers Business School should build a parking deck to address student concerns about convenience as well as safety. In a 2015 survey that was released by the Student Government Association, those two things were cited as some of the top concerns of Rutgers business students. Let's first talk about convenience. There are over 11,000 Rutgers students in Newark, yet there are only 1,100 parking spaces designated for students who are coming to campus. Now imagine you're about to go to class. You're frustrated because you can't find a parking spot. Do you think you're in the best state of mind when you're finally coming into class late, trying to figure out where your car is, or you're going to get a ticket? It's just not a conducive environment for learning. Let's continue a little bit further as far as convenience goes. Rutgers has a huge problem with not only safety, but also students finding parking all the way around campus. So again, rushing, trying to make sense of what's happening with your car doesn't put you in the right state of mind to get involved with extracurricular activities, or would you want to come back on campus on a day that you don't have to be here for an event or a speaker engagement? It just doesn't give you the incentive to be here. Secondly, let's talk about safety. Newark by itself has a huge problem with car vandalism. A lot of people will target the Rutgers community because of the students that are here. They pride on a lot of the students, and it makes it really unsafe for a lot of people to get around campus. So, in conclusion, I say to the Rutgers community, let's invest in the right infrastructure for our students to come here to focus on learning and focus on being the best that they can be to elevate the Rutgers brand and not worry about getting home safely. Thank you.
Great, excellent, great job, Vanessa. Comments? Yes, Levy.
A lot of passion. I think there was something personal.
Actually, I walk here, but I hear the frustrations of everybody else who talks about parking. I could drive here, but there's no space.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the personal part.
Yeah, passionate about it. Yes.
I just like to support a point. I couldn't find a parking, sometimes I have to use street parkings as well.
That's
And
a good
usually,
problem.
very often, if you put the time by, you are actually at risk of getting a
That's a good, I know.
Yeah.
And you're worried the whole time.
Yeah, it's very crowded.
Okay, excellent. Other comments? Good. Good passion. Good engagement. Involved gestures. I want to come back to you when we go over eye contact. Your eye contact was good to the extent that you made eye contact with the room. I felt like it could have slowed down a little bit more. Your eye contact was sporadic, like 1 second at one person, and I felt like that added to a faster pace to your presentation, and we want a little bit slower pace, I think would be more effective. All right, great. Is Priya next?
Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm going to talk to you about how customer centricity is becoming so important in the current state of business these days. And I want to give you an update on my company's status on the customer focus. So this is a small company, but then we want to, the state of the business is customer is really the center of attraction, and we need to cater to their needs, and we need to understand what motivates them, and so on and so forth. So to recently sort of get a handle on how we fare in the customer's mind and what kind of perspective we bring to them, we actually conducted a corporate strategy, corporate ranking for our company amongst the competitors, and also we did a customer experience survey based on how do they perceive us. Based on the survey and the corporate status sort of questionnaire that we brought to our customers, we narrowed down that we were actually ranked 5th in terms of customer experience, and also the corporate status was actually 3rd amongst our peers. To better understand why we were ranked such, we actually went on further to evaluate our survey results, and we found out that the main, out of all the reasons that were actually brought to our attention, a couple of things that were actually things that we want to focus on to make ourselves better. The first thing was there were too many multiple points of contacts with the customers that sort of confused the customers. Secondly, customers told us that when our employees went to meet them on a one-on-one basis, the conversation was more geared towards fulfilling their own agenda as opposed to answering their queries and questions and taking care of that. And thirdly, and most importantly, their questions were actually not even answered on a timely basis. So if we had not had this survey done, we would actually keep thinking and ranking ourselves in our minds as a top-tier company. And this really sort of had us to focus on where we need and where there is room for improvement. based on all these findings, I recommended to our executive board that we need to come up with a customer interaction model that we can focus on and improve on, and then rank ourselves again in one of the top tier companies.
Good, awesome. Comments for Priya? Yeah, yes, second.
I think her voice was so clear, and she was not fast, she was not slow, which made us hear things very properly.
Okay. Yes.
And
Yes.
I think that was one of her, and she looked all around the room.
Yes.
I can only see positive, so.
Yes. Fantastic. We heard things very properly.
Yeah.
Which I think that's a good way to sum it up.
I think she used I can't remember what the key you were talking about when you slow down your pace, and then you heard those findings suggest or something to that nature. I think she was wrapping up and like, okay, I don't want to miss this. And so it was like a nice cue for me to.
Yes. So you caught Vanessa on the upswing of the attention retention curve. Right?
Yeah.
She knew you were coming to an end, so she focused in on what the important part was. Other comments? Yes, Helen.
Her voice sounds like very beautiful.
Didn't know that.
Based on all these bendings, stuff like that, very flattery. So I like it very much. And also, her presentation makes us very relaxed because she is very relaxed.
Yeah.
Make the audience very relaxed and so.
Yes. Let me ask you a question. How many of you understood the conclusion right at the beginning with her introduction? Raise your hand if you understood the conclusion she was going for. One? Just one? All right. I was unclear of two, so two people understood the conclusion.
Yeah.
I was a little unclear, and I wasn't sure it was because I was trying to write some stuff down or not. That it took me till the end of your presentation to tie it all together. Say, okay, so this was the customer experience, this was the thing, the recommendation. That's the whole point of the presentation. So I would say that would serve you well to be very clear at the beginning. And I would say two things. One, only a couple people really got it. And the way I think you could reinforce it is by slowing down, especially at the beginning. You have a very clear voice that Helen was saying is very beautiful. But it might serve you well to punctuate with some pauses and maybe a little bit of vocal variety, especially at the beginning. When you're saying, all right, this is the important thing I want you to take away. A pause, maybe a little accent, maybe a little harder on the customer service recommendation. Okay, now let me very eloquently, very properly, as Agnes pointed out, explain all the data and all the stuff that goes into that. Any other comments? All right, great. This is going really well and fast. I think what I'm going to do, we're just going to get through everyone, and then we're going to talk about body language and eye contact and do that stuff. So, who is next up? Josh.
Business communications is for every day. And that is why I want to talk to you today about the reality, the fact that business communications is the most important course you're going to take here at Rutgers as part of your MBA studies. And I want to make clear that that's true regardless of your concentration, whether it be marketing, pharma, operations, any of these things. Business communications will be the most important. A class from any of these concentrations will give you tools that you may need for a particular project, a particular task on a given week, but they're not going to be for every day. Business communications is for every day. Are you writing an email to a team? It had better be clear, it had better be concise, and that is business communications. Are you riding in an elevator with a colleague? You should be colloquial, you should be comfortable. That is business communications. Are you trying to approach a boss or manager for that new big promotion? You had better be confident and you had better be convincing. And that is business communications. Any position you hold from the time you're an intern to whether you're a CEO will involve business communications every day. And where will we hone the skills required for this, for what will soon be the lifeblood of your professional career? It's going to be in this room. It's going to be in this course. Here is where you will prepare to write that email. Here is where you will get comfortable for being in that elevator. And here is where you will practice to approach your boss for that big promotion. Because business communications will help you every day. And that is why it is the single most important course you will get here at the MBA program.
All right, excellent, Josh. Again, great choice of topic. So how can I argue with anything with that? Comments for Josh? Yeah.
I like his voice. He's a very powerful voice and it has a slow pace. It's kind of like all those seniors that when they talk to you, you cannot help but believe what he's saying because you have that kind of voice effect.
Yeah, very powerful voice. And I think that tied into some interesting choices he made with how he wanted to present. Other comments? Great.
His pauses were really good when he was making, you know, like, that's what business communication is. So the pauses were like really good. But I don't know how I liked him looking at his notes a couple of times.
Okay.
I felt like he has sort of, although I'm sure it's not, but sort of he has memorized his speech.
Okay.
Not been spontaneous.
Okay. Good. All right, so we'll come back to that. Johnny?
I think the style of the presentation is very consistent. You stood behind the podium, and there's always a form of a factor of formality, formality to it. Making it seem like a movie trailer. In a world. Like that. And I think it's very consistent. He's not pandering, trying to be affable to the audience, but rather staying true to the acting style that he decides to stick with.
Yeah, you really made it work, and I'm gonna talk more about that unless there's any other comments before we dive into that. Okay. So I think you read it word for word, right?
Not exactly. I like to have sometimes like key phrases where I know if nothing else I'm going to get those in. I'm not going to flub those.
Okay, so it was close to read word for word, very formal style presentation. So somewhere between read word for word and I guess not read word for word. So and he really, I think, made it work. And some of the ways he made it work by making it a concise speech, he didn't have a whole lot of words he was saying. He had the key phrases down, and then he threw some informal speech around those key phrases. He talked slowly. He stood behind the podium. It's almost like we're being read something, some good, powerful story, some good, powerful speech, or some movie trailer, to your point. And he came back to that verbal motif, and that is business communications. So it reinforced the content and kept us clear in terms of where he was in the speech. So interesting. I don't really know where I want to go with this. It could have been different if he had decided to approach us, if he had decided to talk in a little more of a casual tone. I'm not necessarily going to say it was better, because he did such a great job of making it work. So I think that is an example. We talked last time about different presentation methods, read word for word, memorized word for word, memorized outline, talk with an outline. And this is an example of how he really made something that was close to read word for word, effective and powerful. All right, any comments? Any other comments? All right, let's just continue going through. All right, yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you doing? My name is Johnny. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about the disadvantages of staging your rental property with furniture. Now, as investors in rental property, we're constantly finding ways to improve the property in order to make it more appealing to potential renters. And we would do things like painting the walls with a fresh painted coat paint, redoing floors, adding new electronic appliances. But frequently it's a question asked, should I stage it with furniture, making it more convenient and therefore more appealing to potential renters? And today I'd like to just explain why that's not a good idea in most circumstances. Because by staging the property with furniture, you're actually branding your property in a way that that eliminates your possibility of getting the tenants that you want. And there are 3 reasons for it. Number 1, if you stage a property with furniture, the only kind of tenants you're going to get are the short-term tenants instead of long-term. These are tenants that will only sign up for 1 month to 3 month leases instead of 6 months to a year or above. Because these people are usually the ones that cannot afford their own appliances or furniture, and that's why they're drawn to it. And that's usually caused by the nature of their jobs. They're frequently students. They are, generally they have very unstable circumstances, and that adds to some of the lack of certainty. And you don't want that as an investor. Second of all, with furniture that don't belong to them, they are more likely to do damages to it. Studies have shown that when this is something called the sunk cost fallacy. And if you didn't invest in your own property, if you didn't invest in your own furniture, you're not going to take care of it very much. And it's one of those subconscious things that's in your mind, and you don't want them to do damages to your furniture. Sure, you can always take it out of the security deposit, but again, that adds to the uncertainty, which actually leads to my third point. That staging could potentially turn away renters. Nowadays, people are dictated by instant gratification. They are constantly seeing all these nice things that they can't afford. So they can't afford something, but they are trained to have a unique set of aesthetics with their delicate sensibilities. So while they can't necessarily afford your furniture, they are perceptive enough to have their own tastes. And if it's something that they don't like, it's going to turn them off. So the best idea is to simply give them a property that's a blank slate, make them do their own thing, makes them happy, and eliminates your risk of investment. And that is why I think it's a good idea in most cases to leave your rental property blank for the potential renters. Thank you for your attention.
Excellent. Comments for Johnny? Josh?
I thought overall it was really good, but I thought the pace kind of changed at different points. There was a few parts that were a little quicker, and then there were a couple parts where it felt like it was slowing down.
Okay. So how did that affect you as the audience member?
I guess it just seemed a little awkward.
Okay, interesting. Anyone else have thoughts on that? Did it get awkward when he slowed down? Because usually my comment is to tell people to slow down more.
I think it was more just the change back and forth between the two more than the information was good, the conclusion was clear. I think it was just kind of just thrown for whatever.
Okay. Interesting. I mean, because normally I'll say that's a good thing. Slow down at some points, speed up at other points, and that gives us a vocal variety that tells us when you're going through quick information you just need to fire at us and important conclusions. All right, so that's an interesting note that there may have been some awkwardness in at least one audience member. Other thoughts? Good content, clear content, useful. You're going to be rented, yes.
I think the overall pace is good. When we first started the presentation, he was pretty, laid back. I can feel that he's pretty relaxed.
Uh-huh.
And maybe there are some portions where he was trying to slow down a little bit. It didn't really affect, my way of understanding him.